This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Introduction. The older adult who is described in this assignment is my grandmother. She significantly impacted my life, both in childhood and as I grew up. Although she died from lung cancer some years ago, she is still an example for me in many life situations. Main body. I believe that my grandmother can be considered a symbol of successful aging in many ways. First of all, her behavior did not change for the worse, which is typical of many older adults. She was lucky not to develop any mental diseases and preserved a clear mind until metastases in the brain damaged it. She was a lady for as long as I remember her and maintained the lady's habits till the end of her days. She was never rude or harsh with people and was an example of decent behavior. Secondly, her attitude toward life is worth mentioning. My grandmother believed that happiness and success in life depended on attitudes and that being positive is the right choice. I adored the way she handled problems. In fact, she tried to present any problem as a slight misunderstanding. For example, when she was diagnosed with cancer, she did not give up the way many people did. She did not look doomed and behaved like her treatment was challenging or game. Thirdly, her peer relationships can be an example to follow. My grandmother was a leader, and people could follow her. After she retired, she was the head of the community center because she could not stay at home doing anything. They had a big volunteer project at the community center and helped elderly and disabled community members or those experiencing difficult times. She had many friends and acquaintances and was constantly on the move. However, the aspect I can assess best of all is her family relationships. Despite her active social life, she always had enough time for the family and was our keeper of traditions. She was not only a grandmother but a good friend to me because we were very close and could share many secrets. When the cancer was diagnosed, she was afraid of being helpless and becoming a burden on her family. Still, each of us was eager to visit her at the hospital or help at home, not because of the feeling of duty but due to a desire to be useful to a close person. My grandmother's health habits almost did not change during her lifetime. She preferred traditional evidence-based medicine, took care of herself, and had regular examinations. She has been doing her daily morning exercises for as long as I can remember. At weekends, we sometimes took long walks to the park. She believed that activity and movement contribute to health. Finally, as for the sources of meaning in her life, I would mention the following. My grandmother's major source of meaning in life was her family. She was attentive and caring with all of us. She valued every moment spent with her family, both close and distant relatives. Also, I can say that another source of meaning for her was life itself. She loved life and considered it to be one of her most significant values. Nevertheless, there was an aspect of my grandmother's life that did not symbolize successful aging. The only age-related problem she had was hypertension, which developed despite her attention to health and regular examinations. Immediately after it was diagnosed, hypertension interfered with her usual activities and had a negative impact on her quality of life as a whole because my grandmother could not do the usual things as quickly as she did before. Still, the effective treatment plan helped her return to habits, and the disease did not influence her much in the following years. Conclusion. The experiences with my grandmother have had an impact on my work with older adult clients. First of all, my attitudes to older adult clients are favorable due to my grandmother. I realize that aging is not an easy process for a person, both physically and psychologically, because my grandmother shared her feelings related to changes occurring with her. The major objective of my work is to provide the best possible help for everyone. This principle was also formed under the influence of my grandmother. She was always eager to help, and I grew up with the belief that helping and doing one's best are normal behaviors. Finally, my expectations regarding working with older adults were formed under the influence of my grandmother and her friends. However, this impact is sometimes negative because I expect my patients to stay positive and active as my grandmother did, and many older adults are not positive about aging and age-related health changes. Still, these experiences provide me with many examples from my grandmother's life, which I can share with my patients. I should say that this sharing frequently helps to shift people's negative attitudes and stimulate the adequate perception of aging in older adults. This essay on successful and unsuccessful aging, my grandmother's story, was written and submitted by a student just like you. The Ivy Panda Samples database hosts thousands of works similar to this one on various subjects. Visit ivypanda.com to find what you are looking for, free of charge.